Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Three Men of Football. All right lads?
Hi Thomas, Simon, how are we?
Hi boys, how are we doing?
All good. So we're recording this on Thursday. And have you got something to be excited about there, Tom?
It's 1-1. It's the 65th minute. And Liverpool are about to win the league if it stays as it is. Come on! I've got my fireworks ready. I'm opening the patio doors. I'm blasting You Never Walk Alone because I've got an Evertonian. There's a neighbour. She hates me and she's always shouting about me. Get your Liverpool flag down. She winds me up, so it's getting blasted, and I'm going to send the fireworks over towards her house.
Aaron, you'll be able to hear that from yours.
Yeah, I will do. I'll put a complaint in. The problem is I complain to Thomas, that's his job.
Do a noise complaint to Thomas about him and his family. Oh, brilliant. All right, so it could be a big day, but we also have got a big day because we've got an interview with Tom Butler, who played in the Premier League for Sunderland. Played for teams like Darlington, Dunfermline, Hartlepool, and had a 6-year spell at Swansea as well. Really good lad. Scored goals in professional football, something that we would have loved to have done. I mean, me and you got a little bit closer than Thomas did, Daz, but he'll tell you that diving header he once nearly did in a charity game on the AstroTurf was very close. I was there.
You've got as close to it as I have. Hey, in fact, I got closer because I went to Anfield every week.
Yeah.
At this point, I'd like to say I scored at Wembley Stadium when I was 14, but we'll move on. We'll save that for another day, Daz. Anyway, so Tom has come on to do an interview with us. Really good lad. Played football at the top level, something that we're very envious of. And we're going to have a chat with him and talk to him about all things football. So I'm really looking forward to this. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the Three Men of Football podcast. Nice to meet you, mate.
How's it going, lads? All right?
That's good, Tom. Good to see you.
All right.
All good. So normally, Tom, what I do at this stage is go through, what people have done before. But I was torn between talking about your football statistics or your injuries. Because you had almost as many injuries as you had clubs.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think it's one of them with me with injuries was I'd say probably played 6 matches. And I'm thinking, I'm doing all right, I'm doing well here. Next minute, bang, hamstring tear, sniper. I get snipered out somewhere, you know what I mean? And then it was always the same stuff with me, to be fair. So I kind of felt sorry on the clubs a little bit when you're thinking, you know what I mean? Oh, we got a player in here, oh, he's doing well, and then the next minute you're out, you're not seen for 3 months. You know what
Especially
I mean?
when you're a tricky little winger, mate. You need your pace, don't you?
Yeah, to be fair, believe it or not, I actually was quick back then. Don't let this camera size fool you.
Yeah. Tom, we try not to talk about pace on this programme, so you'll be fine, mate.
That's because Darren's the slowest footballer you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
So, Tom,
the slowest footballer I played against was Jan Molby.
Really?
Yeah. Was he at was it Kidderminster or somewhere like that?
Yes, yeah, he managed Kidderminster, yeah.
He's managing down there, wasn't he? He the width of that fella. He was like, man, he was a big man. But I actually played. I played for Darlington when I was 17. I went out on loan to Darlow in Division 3. I'm sure I played against him. He didn't move. Like literally stood in the centre circle. Had 2 young lads just run around get the ball. But he was unbelievable, just singing balls everywhere. He just didn't move. He was like
he did that for Liverpool in the late years, didn't he?
Yeah, I modelled my fitness regime on him quite well over the years.
Yeah. He does as much running as him. So Tom, all joking aside, you played for some big clubs. You played for Sunderland early on in the 2000s, and then started building up again after leaving Sunderland in 2004. Went to Dunfermline, Hartlepool, and obviously the one that people will know you for mostly is Swansea. Some great years there. And all joking aside, you played 126 games for them, it says on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I mean, they were another person that got paid. But look, I think Swansea was the one where I think every player has a team where everything clicks for them. Where and it depends on, you need a bit of luck. So it depends on which stage you get it. Some players will be 18 and you get the manager that clicks and everything works. For me, I was probably 26 then, I think, when I went there. And Roberto Martinez came in. Well, I went there, actually, Kenny Jackett was there first. But Kenny was a little bit similar to other managers I had, which, good manager, but When Roberto came in, perfect for me, as in total football, all about the person and the mentality of trying to work players, and he was excellent. Do you know what I mean? He was a bit more, I would say, arm around, that type of way. Players a little bit better, and the training sessions and all the rest of it he had. I think for him, when he first came in, he said to us, he had a meeting with us and said, lads, bear in mind we're in League One, and he said, lads, we're going to revolutionise this league and this team and the way we play football, and everything's going to be on the ground and play on the deck. And he said the average amount of passes in League One is 182 passes or 190 a game. And we were all like scratching our heads going, yeah, and, so what? And he goes, by the end of this season, we'll be averaging 700 passes a game, dominating teams and beating them off the park. And I was sitting there with Truns, Lee Trundle and Andy Robinson and all these lads, Leon Knight and all these, been around to lots of clubs. And we all looked at each other and thought, this in 2 weeks, there's no way you're going to pass the ball the way he's explaining it in League One when you're going away to Hartlepool away and his elbows flying about and it's balls in the air. And we just thought, Roberto was only 39, was he 38 or 39 when he took the job? So we just thought, this bloke's been watching the Liga too much. This is League One in England. You're going to, especially with the crowd, we could lose 7-0, but he's passed the ball, he's done well.
Yeah.
To be fair to him, it took balls to do what he did, like to come in and say, I'm going to do the total opposite of what you see every week in, week out. And I think the good thing with Roberto was he's very intelligent. He knew he had a good few technical players that the system that he wanted to play was ready to go. So it's not like going in and say a Stoke and saying, 8-9 years ago and saying, right, I want to pass the ball on the deck. You don't have the players to do it. But I think Roberto had the players to do it and implement what he wanted. So, it just took off from there.
And that worked well for you because of the type of player you were. Were you always that type of player? Like, let's go back to when you're from Dublin, aren't you? You were brought up in Dublin. In the youth, as you went through youth, were you always a winger, or did you play anywhere else?
I was at I played for a team in Dublin called Belvedere FC in Dublin, and they're like city centre in the team.
Tom, can I just ask, did you play against Crumlin?
Yeah, we would have, yeah. Well, they're another good team. Like, they always get good like youth teams. And Belvedere probably one of the best ones, as in they always get players out. Mark Kennedy actually played for them, for Belvedere, lad. Troy Parrott, the lad now that's at Tottenham. So they always get, good players through the system. But Belvedere, when I was there, again, it was all total football. Everything was technical. And that's, when I was there, I originally played as a winger. But then when I signed for Sunderland when I was 16, I played as a centre midfielder, which was a bit bizarre. But I would have been small enough at that age, 16, 17, playing midfield. I had a good touch. I was technically good. So that coincided with them playing for the national team under 15s and 16s. And you play France and Spain and all these lads. So I was actually kind of on the same kind of like wavelength as them, if you know what I mean. But then obviously when I went to England, then it was much tougher because the lads were much more physical. You know what I mean?
How did you cope when moving over to England at such a young age?
I loved it. Like, when I came to Sunderland first, we all stayed in a hostel. Like, about 18 of us. You know what I mean? So there was 5 or 6 rooms in the hostel. There was 4 or 5 lads that signed from Dublin. So there's 5 of us in one room. And then there was 4 or 5 lads from the north of Ireland that signed. So we like busted the doors at like 3 a.m. with the fire extinguishers and all this. And
brilliant.
It was great. It was like a big party in the hostel. And then on the top floor, you had the Scandinavian lads. And then who else did you have? And then you had a few lads from probably like south of England. So you had a good dynamic in the hostel of all different types of backgrounds. And well, like I say, we do all this as you had nothing else to do. Your curfew was at 10 o'clock every night. So you were bored out of your heads all day in the hostel. So you just come up with games or pranks constantly on the other room. So I loved it. You know what I mean?
So how did you end up going to Sunderland? Because I've read somewhere that you had a trial at Villa.
Yeah, well, I think age 14 is the big one in Dublin. So when you're 14 or 15, scouts from England come over and they watch the best young players. So Belvedere would have been one of the best teams, like the highest standard. So you'd have Belvedere, Home Farm, St. Kevin's, and 2 or 3 other teams. So a lot you'd know. You know, and obviously my brother as well was a year and a half older than me, and he played for Leeds United youth team. So he was one step ahead of me, and I was always kind of seeing, right, well, John's made it, and my brother's called John, and he's on the Leeds. So I'm thinking, right, I'm next. I'm not staying around here going to school. You know, I'm off, I'm going. So the scouts come over, and then the big thing then is if you get picked for the under 15 international setup. So that's one way you think 90% of players at that time would have went to England. If you made the international setup, that was your link then to England. It just took one good game international level, and you were guaranteed a trial. You definitely would have got at least in for a look. So I went up. I think the first Ireland squad I went into, I was actually left out. It was like X Factor. There was about 500 kids, and the last 20. Or something like that. I think they picked a squad of 18, and I got into the last 20. So I was giving it the big one in school, thinking, you know, oh, nice, well, I'm going to be playing football and all this. And I remember then they used to print the squads in the newspaper the week before. So I got the Evening Herald, it was called, and I looked at it and I went, you know, where the fuck's my name here? You know, I was so arrogant. I was thinking I couldn't believe it. So I went to about 5 different shops in Dublin. Bought 5 different newspapers. This has to be a mistake. Like, there's no in the squad. So anyway, bought all these papers. I was probably 14, I think, at the time. I remember coming home when I was gutted. Like, I was sitting in the house, and my mum was like, "Don't worry, son. Like, you know, you'll be all right. And you know, you're gonna have to dig in at school now and all this." Oh God! No. You know, so, but luckily enough, I think they went out and played Wales. Wales? Yeah, Wales or someone in the first match, and they got beaten 4-0. They got hammered.
And you were like that?
I was jumping somersaults. Yeah. Real bear I was. But then I think what happened was, because it was such a heavy loss, they called back 20 more players that they might have overlooked. It was exactly like X Factor. I was laughing. So I came back, then I went up and I'd done really well again in a kind of a retrial. And then I signed, not signed, I made the squad then. And then after that, then I think the manager then liked the way I played. I played on the wing for them, I think, at the first couple of games. And then I moved into the centre midfield with player Lee Miller, who sadly passed away, lad at Man United and Celtic.
Yeah.
So I played in the centre midfield. Andy Reid, who played for Nottingham Forest, or Reid, wing. So we had a really, if you think back then, across the 4 players across midfield, all probably went on to play, you know, like at a decent enough level.
Yeah,
you know?
That's quality.
Yeah. And all technically very good players as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Wes Houlihan was in that squad as well. So John O'Shea played centre half, and who else played? So in that little group of 11, probably there would have been 6 or 7 that would have went on to have good careers. So technically, when I think we actually played England. Joe Cole was playing. I remember Joe Cole playing centre mid. He was unbelievable, and he was saying to me, "Just man mark him." You know? Mark someone. I was like, "Yeah, but what about me? I can play and all that." No. You run everywhere where he's run and stuff.
Is it true you've got the nickname the Irish Joe Cole?
Yeah, I didn't want to mention it. I was trying to bring it up. Where did you put that one from, man?
Joe Cole phoned us.
All right, Joe, do you want to tell you?
Yeah, you know him a pint.
Yeah, he's. I played against him a couple of times, to be fair, and that was when he was just on a different level, like ridiculous.
Such a shame he didn't do well at Liverpool as well, because I really wanted him as a Liverpool fan. You really wanted him to do well because he was quality at one stage, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's another one where there's certain players, I think, like him, and you just have to let them play. Like, you just let them play. Like, they don't soup it in a, I'll probably come to it later on, but in a classroom where you're just on a board all day and real robotic statistics and you stand here in the 50th minute, you move. No, that's just too confusing for certain players. They're kind of like natural, if you know what I mean. Just let them play, and you just have to tweak a few things about them, not too much. And I think he was probably a bit like that as well. Do you know what I mean? Like a natural player.
Yeah, I always felt he was stifled at clubs. Yeah, because they wanted him to play a certain way on the left, and he wanted to go everywhere the ball was.
Yeah.
Well, we only talked about we were talking about Grealish as well, weren't we, the other day? Darren's an Aston Villa fan, and we were talking about Grealish and where they play him, and they stick him out on the wing, and he just drifts out the game, and he doesn't get involved. You want him in the middle, involved in the game.
Yeah. And the bad thing about playing on the wing is like, because I've been there for a long time, and it depends if I'm playing on the if I'm playing on the left wing and the predominantly left-footed central midfielders never going to get the ball, because every time they get it, they're hitting it out to the right wing naturally, which is fair enough. A lot of them don't have the confidence to say, right, I'm going to swing it with my right peg out to him. Yeah. So I've often been in games where 40 minutes before I touch a ball, I'm just doing my checks at doggies, or you're just chasing their fullback up and down. You think this is just a bleep test,
like being back in pre-season. Yeah. So then so Tom, then you went to Sunderland. How old were you when you went to Sunderland?
I was 17 when I went to Sunderland.
And then you had 6 years there?
Yeah, 6, yeah. I think it was 6, yeah.
And at that time, they had a decent side as well. You had some really good players, especially when you started out.
Yeah, the U team I came into were all international. So the U team was one of the best actually in the country at the time. So on our U team, we probably had 7 of the squad that went up into the first team and played in the first team, which is a really high success rate for our U team. So when I went there to play in that team, again, Pop Robson was a manager. I don't know if you remember him, Brian Pop Robson. Technical player for West Ham back in the day, really good. Well, he was a manager, and he was, again, football mad. So he was probably way ahead of his time even then, because all he wanted to do was play off from the back, high intensity, 1 and 2 touches, isolate wingers, 1v1s, crosses in the box. It was all, you lose the ball, how quick can you get it back? And really, he was doing all that then. So I was really lucky to kind of go into a place where the way I played and my attributes, he loved straight away. That's why he signed me. He flew over to Ireland and watched me playing. I think it was in the AUL near Dublin Airport against Northern Ireland or something, I think it was. And he rang me and just said, look, I've seen enough after 10 or 15 minutes to know what I can do, what little bits I need to add. Because brilliant from him, you get a lot of people sometimes say, oh, you're excellent, you're just brilliant, and you've got this and that. He was kind of, you've got a good few things I like, but I can make it better, which appealed to me. I was thinking, because I'm that arrogant then, thinking I'm brilliant. I can take the shit things you've got and make it better. So I was thinking, wow, this is going to be interesting. What's he going to do? And he's brilliant,
So then you go there. There's a load of good players in the youth team. How do you get to break into the first team? I know you made your debut after some time there, but how did you break into the first team? Because that must have been a challenge, because, again, the first team were a quality team then as well, weren't they?
Yeah, it's really hard. The dynamic there, I mean, you had Peter Reid there as manager. He was fantastic with us. And I remember the training ground. So you had the U team pitch, reserves, and then you had the first team. So we were on the U team pitch every day. And you always knew Peter Reid and Bobby Saxton, you always knew that, all right, they're over at the first team pitch, but they used to walk around the other pitches. So you knew in your training session that, the gaffer is coming past now, so he's watching. So every day going in, you're thinking, I'm going to train hard today, I'm going to be brilliant today, because the gaffer might see me. He might see me, and he might just say, right, you're training with the first team tomorrow because you were excellent. So now he didn't most of the time, but it just thinking he might give you that chance. But I remember just in the U team, it was just being consistent, and I think we were probably top of the league, ahead of Man United, ahead of Liverpool.
Yeah.
We used to go away, I think it was Man United, we used to destroyed them away from home, battered them. They couldn't touch the ball. And they used to hate that as well, because they were buying players for such big money. But I think it was the way we were coached, and just a bit like Crewe. Remember, Crewe had those teams?
Yes. Yeah.
Brilliant youth teams back in the day. So, and then it was a case of just every now and again, Peter Reid he'd call Pop Robson over and say, Pop, we're playing. It might have been even a cup game or something. And say, who's been doing well the last few weeks? Who's been the most consistent? You know what I mean? And he'd say, oh, Tommy's been doing really well. Right, we'll tell him he's on the bench tomorrow. Come in.
Brilliant.
So can I ask a question? Because when Sunderland first did their documentary and Peter Reid was the manager, were you around then?
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I missed that with what was it called?
I'm not sure.
Premier Passions, it was called.
Yes, yeah.
No, I just missed that, but I did watch it. It was hilarious.
Was it a true reflection of what was going on?
Yeah, like sometimes, but like it was. I mean, people laugh at all the funny things and just how really with swearing. Like he was like that. Like he'd come in and he'd just be the Lucozade bottles flying past your head, but not like. I think he probably showed a little bit too much of that, but he obviously knows his football, knows his stuff, and he was very successful with. Again, I probably had the group of players that he had. A lot of big characters in the team, and obviously really is the number one character, if you know what I mean. So yeah, he had to manage all them as well. And I would say a little bit like Burnley last few seasons of really had a similar type of squad of just hard-working lads that'll do as they're told. No big egos then in the squad, and he knew what to say to kind of get the best out of him. But he didn't do too much coaching, but when he did do it, he you're thinking this is an England international here. Look, played with those brilliant teams. You know what I mean? Like, who are we to even question him? He knew his stuff,
Who were the characters in the first team at that stage?
Oh, there was it was funny, quite funny actually, because there's three kind of porter cabins. So the first team porter cabin again, the reserves kind of in the middle, and the youth team on the side. So you had to walk through the porter cabins into the first team and give them their boots and all. So I used to dread it, like, so you're thinking, if you make eye contact with one of them in the first team, they'll have you up dancing on the table, singing or whatever, or, if you walked in with any sort of clothes on, they go, what the fuck? So you used to just walk in with your head down and just please just don't pick me out today. But it probably would be called bullying now. But back then it's just crack just to see what type of character you are. A little bit of it is testing you just to see. They appreciate it a little bit more when you had a bit of banter back and you hammered one of them back, and then all the other lads would join in, and it's that type of stuff, you know what I mean? But like Niall Quinn would have been a good character then. Ray, you had Chris Macon, lad,
quality,
Manchester, so. So Mickey Gray would have been a local lad here as well. So you would have a good group and a good. Kevin Ball was the captain. So he's hard as nails.
Yes,
absolute. Like you fists like shovels. You know what I mean? Big hard man, but kind of ruthless at times with discipline and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So if you mess up or you do the type to. There was one lad actually at Middlesbrough. He was actually on our youth team. And Sunderland played Middlesbrough, and Robbo was centre half. I think Middlesbrough scored, and Robbo, we all sat behind the dugout like the youth team. Robbo jumps up, yes, Borough. So it got back to Bawley. Bawley heard about it, and he said, right, what, one of our own team? Someone was, who was it? It was a lad in the youth team called Robbo. Right, send him up to me. So Robbo was a big centre half of Middlesbrough, thought he was tough. Bawley goes, did you cheer when Middlesbrough scored? He goes, yeah. He said, sorry, Bawley, that it's just my team. That's where I'm from. He said, oh, is it? He said, right. So you got a line, like a tunnel, players all at the stand. And Robbo had to run from one end to the next. And the lads were like throwing kicks and punches.
We used to cut. We had that in my primary school. We called it the tunnel of death.
Yeah. That's a bit like what it was like, but no, it was one of them where he said, well, Bawley, to be fair, got him at the end, and he said, Robbo, look, son, he said, you play for Sunderland. I don't care where you're from. You live, you die for this team, and he said, I won't have it from anybody. And you know, he grabbed him afterwards. He was hugging him and that and saying, so you'll never do something like that again, will you?
Not a chance.
So talking about quality players that you had there, Tom, Kevin Phillips I used to admire from a distance. He was a brilliant finisher. He looked like a cracking centre forward. What was he like to be around on the training pitch? Was he good as he looked, you know, on the TV?
Yeah, he was unbelievable. He used to put us behind the goals. So every day after training, he'd say, Tommy, go behind the goal with a bag of balls. And he'd just say, right, he'd stand on the edge of the D and you'd have to ping a ball to him in the middle of the D and he'd have one touch with his left foot, strike with his right, and he'd zing the balls this height off the ground, rockets, bottom corner, bang, goal. And he'd have like a little cone sort of next to the goal post, just in between it, and he'd just aim for the cones next to the posts. And then another ball then from the other side would come in. He'd touch it with his left, strike with his right, bang, drill it, bottom corner. He'd do that for like, I'd say half an hour, 40 minutes after training. And you could just tell with him, like, he's just, you know what I mean? It's mad. Some players, when they just get those little yards of space, like I'd have to probably shake someone off, run them this way to run that way to just get a tiny bit of a yard.
Yeah.
He would just drift into these little pockets and no one would pick him up. And I don't know whether, I used to say, he must be just lucky drifting into these spots, but it's not. It's just awareness. Do you know what I mean? He would just, the centre half would look this way for a couple of seconds. He'd be on the blind side. The ball would come to him, he'd turn, and he'd score. Like, he'd probably get, I think, and again, you got to think of Sunderland then. We wouldn't have created many chances.
No.
So, like, to finish 7 twice with him, just getting a half of a chance, and he buries it. Like, I always think with him, could you imagine him in a Man United or something then? Yeah. He probably would have scored 50, 60 goals a year. You know what I mean?
Do you think Quinn was his perfect partner, though?
Yeah. The way we played it was because it was mad back then. It was the youth team were total football. Like, I'm not going to say like Barcelona, but four-man's version of Barcelona. Like, everything was two-touch and pass. And the first team, they used to teach the right-backs how to hit a good diagonal ball. Like, you should get the ball out and you'd hear Bobby Saxon sometimes, like a few passes would go centre half to the left back into midfield, and he'd go, whoa, stop. Why don't you? That's the second pass. Just hit Quinny. So the midfielders would be showing for it, and they'd be going, well, why have us at all then, Bob? Because no, you just pick up the seconds. If Quinny, for whatever reason, doesn't win it, we're further up the pitch. There's no danger up there. And he said, well, why give it to him and he can lose it, and then the pressure's on us? Now, he has a point, to be fair, but you can imagine midfielders, you're brought up to, make angles and show for the ball and get on the ball, and Sacco's going, no, you must be joking. So you go from the youth team up to that, and then you're going, I'm running up to a fullback going, yes, and Sacco's going, no.
Get away.
You're doing the opposite,
So then how did you deal with that when you got into the first team then?
Yeah, I think it was just for me, I would say, yeah, you do as you're told.
Yeah.
Like, so as much as you're just thinking, I'm happy just to be here, I'm just getting into the team, and the last thing I want to do is have a melt on me.
Yeah.
I get kicked back, because it was like that then. It was, if a young lad opened his mouth, it was, he's got an attitude problem. Go and play with the kids for 6 months. And then you probably would never get a chance again. So you had to kind of, you had to ease your way in a little bit. Do you know what I mean? But
I bet you learned to hit those diagonal balls quite well, though.
Yeah, even on the wing, I was trying to hit diagonal balls.
So Tom, you played with some really good youth players, and then you get into the first team. One of the things that's really interesting for us and a lot of people who listen to us is we're all nearly players. Players who played decent amateur careers, had a couple of chances, didn't quite make it. What do you think is the difference between the players that get into those youth teams and are good footballers and then end up playing amateur football all life, or don't play at all, and the players who actually make it? What's that ingredient that is vital to make it work?
Yeah, I think it's hard to put it on, because it's all different experiences. Like, you've seen the Vardy thing coming from non-league, and he gets his break. You need little bits of luck, but I think I think what gave me an edge, a massive advantage, was hours of being with a ball. Like, so when I was, I'd say age 6, I'd probably be on the streets playing football for 7 hours a day, minimum. So if you add that up, like, so minimum 5 days a week. So I'd be probably getting 40, 50 hours a week with a ball from age 6, every day just used to a ball.
Yeah.
And I don't think players now get enough time with a ball, like, as in, even in academies, like if the kids go to an academy, say today, you might train for an hour. I don't think that's enough. Now, I think, but again, it's hard to juggle, because if you've got parents that have jobs, rushing back, like, they just can't do it. It's not easy to do. But where I lived in Dublin was just everybody was on the streets all day playing football, like kids wise. And then I think when I got up to 14, 15, 16, again, I was playing Gaelic football in the schools. As soon as I finished that, I think I played for 2 or 3 teams. I played for Belvedere, then I played for my local team as well. So I'd go from one match. Sometimes I was playing 2 matches a day on the weekends. So it was just constant. I was so used to a ball. When I got my trial in England then, I stood out when I went to trial, because I remember I trained with the youth team for a couple of days, and then I got moved up to the reserves. And I stood out in the reserves, and the lads are going, fucking hell, they're like, who's this lad? Hey, he's good, him, and you must be like 22, 23. And I was like, no, I'm 17.
Yeah.
Like, amazed. They were going, well, technically I'm miles ahead. And I just said, look, I'd probably put it down to a lot of, like, some of them are lucky and they'll get breaks, but I think it's just players that do more work generally are the ones that will eventually make those breaks. And it's nothing. I know 1 or 2 people that were probably better than me when I was a kid at the same age, growth or whatever it is, or something to do with family or whatever it is. They just don't get seen, or you join a team where the manager's an asshole, or it doesn't work, or it doesn't, and you just go down a different path, and then you don't enjoy football anymore, and you fall out of the game. So you see with a lot of Premier League youth team players now, say Liverpool's and Man United's, when they get released, I'd say probably vast majority of them that get released don't even play amateur football. Just think, play football now. That's it, I'm done. But I genuinely think now, if I had advice for any young players, is just, I mean, look, the usual stuff. If they're in an academy and they're young now, say they're age 16, it's just do more work than anybody else. Just like, I did it sometimes, not all the time, but there was players who, as soon as training finished, they would out of the shower, sprinting into the car, and they were gone. They couldn't wait to get away. And you're only training for an hour and 10 minutes. Like, if you think about it, players only trains 9 hours a week.
Wow.
Whereas, you know, I always be Alan Tate, that was at Swansea, a player that was at Swansea with. He was at Man United when Ronaldo first came. And I always used to say to Tate, I said, Tate, what was Ronaldo like at Man United? And Tate, he's like, oh, he's a busy bastard. I know. Enlighten me, how? And he says, he says, he was in the gym till 4:30, 5 o'clock in the evenings. And we wanted to go home at 2:30 and 1 o'clock. Now, Tate's at Swansea in League 2. And I'm saying, Tate, like, can you see why? Like, you know, I'm not saying it'll work for everybody. Like, so some people will probably do the same workload, and it might not happen. But you just increase your chances. It's just how much you're willing to sacrifice. I think it's, you know, again, eat good foods. Are you getting your sleep in? Are you going to be, you need to be really selfish. I'll say to young players now, you've got to be, you know, if your missus is like saying, oh, come on, let's go to the shopping centre or I'll walk around for a couple of hours. No, I'm not going. I'm staying, I'm sleeping.
Tom, just on that, I mean, even if you use your missus' like iPad and stuff, you've got to be determined to just say no, and you've got to know where that is. But a couple of things I just want to pick up what you've said, really, and things about players having a ball. You know, I've coached, and I coach in the States and stuff, and I'm always telling players, you know, get a ball, get a wall, and you can spend hours just doing stuff. And I think children now see the end product and don't see the work that goes into it.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned Kevin Phillips already, putting the effort in after training, Ronaldo putting the effort in training. There's a correlation between that work ethic. Beckham was the same. Beckham used to do it all the time. Gerrard, all these top players. people just see that end product. They don't see the work ethic that goes into it and the practice and practice and practice. I see lots of kids football now, and they're almost over sort of fit. They're so fit, these kids, but they can't do anything with the ball. And I think we need to get a balance at youth football. And I'm quite passionate about the youth game. And I think in this country, we need to change it. But that's for another podcast we spoke about, because I could be here for hours. But I do think we need to coach the coaches how to coach with a ball for 90% of the time they've got the kids. Because if they don't, the kids are going to be athletes without being able to pass a ball.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like some of the managers that I've worked with, like Brendan Rodgers at Leicester, for example, now this is at Leicester now, so this is not like the step-ups. You have to be ready for his team. So Brendan the player will have to be an athlete, number one. But Brendan's that good of a coach then. Whatever way he wants you to play, or if it's, he'll coach it. You know what I mean? So he'll find weaknesses in your game, find what they are, and then he makes you a better player. And that's why, again, he's one of the top ones. But I would always just say it with kids or anyone around that age, like, I've got so many people or, stories where I've seen players been injured for 3 years, like do their left cruciate, do their right, and they're in the gym 14 hours a day, hammering the gym just to get back. People never see it, and then see all the mental stress that kind of comes with that as well. Like Gary Monk at Swansea, I think, had some really bad knee injuries. Yeah. And I'd come in the mornings, and I'd come in, trainers at 10:30, and then I'd come in at probably 25 past 10. Do you know what I mean? Like, around the corner.
So you were early.
Just so I didn't get fined. But I'd see Monks, like, all right, Monks, what's the crack? And he goes, I'm just on my third training session. I'm saying, what? He goes, I've been in the gym since 5:30. I've done an hour and a half swimming. Then I've done reception. Then I've done this. Then I've done that. And the bloke, I think it's 6 months recovery time for cruise ship. I think Monks came back in 4 months because he was a medical freak. Like, they were doing tests on him to say that's near enough impossible to do. But it's just, he was an animal mentally, just in the gym, hard, and just like his diet was, I think it was like 4% body fat or something. It was just, and he came back a better player. But another player that might not do that, like, just think that's too much for me. And then they'll slide down the leagues a little bit. Whereas Monks thought, I'm not talented enough to get out of this mess. The only way for me to do it, because he was centre half and he was honest kind of player, is just to work harder than everybody else. And that's why then he came back and had a good career,
Yeah, so you're touching on a couple of things that we've talked about in previous podcasts that are around the mental health of footballers as well. So we've touched on a couple of them. One being, a lot of kids are let go out of the academies at 16 and then after the YTS at 18 and don't make it. And then also people suffer horrible injuries like you've had throughout your career. And then how they deal with it mentally defines whether they actually get back to the player they were before. Have you seen, obviously you've had your own injuries as well. Have you suffered from some of that when you're coming back to fitness or trying to get back to fitness, really struggling to mentally get to grips with it?
Yeah, you do. Like it's you almost feel guilty. Guilt, I think, is the biggest part of it, because, you're getting paid every week, regardless. So when you're injured, you still get paid. So like you hear little things like, and it's like, oh, here's sick note here. Oh, watch yourself getting out of the car, you might hurt yourself. And you have to have banter back with them. But deep down, you're going, I'd give anything to be out on the pitch there. And especially if it's a player you think, I'm better than him as well. And, which just gets to you a little bit. So, again, the worst thing I think for a footballer when they're injured is your mind. It never stops. It's judgmental. It's like, you almost think the reason why I had this injury is because I've done something bad to someone, or whatever. That time I didn't get 6 hours. I only got 4 hours sleep. I shouldn't have went out that night. That's what happened. So you're already injured, and then you're beating yourself up more and more in the gym, and it doesn't help. Now, not everyone's like that. Like I said, Gary Monk probably wouldn't have been. He just would have been a machine. Just went, I'm not going to let negative thoughts come in my mind. This is what I need to do. But most people, again, it's the human aspect of, doesn't make a difference if you're on 50, 60, 100 grand a week. You will get down from injuries. And I know it's hard for you know, people that have jobs that earn like modest pays to go, "Well, this fella's moaning he's on 50, 100 grand a week." I get it, totally understand it. But the human beings, it doesn't make a difference. Like I've known lads on 50 grand a week, miserable, coming in every day depressed or looking down and sad because they're thinking, you know what, I don't feel the same. My body's not right, and I'm afraid to sprint in case this happens. And all these doubts and self-doubt comes in because it's like happened with me. When you get injured that many times, you're just thinking you're jinxed. You're just thinking, and that brings negativity instead of, you know. So I think it's a lot better now, though. I think clubs have, you know, obviously sports science has absolutely kicked on massively now. Players are much more aware, and I think culture's changed now as well a lot. Where, you know, culture's changed that much. My last Christmas party was in Newcastle with the Swansea lads, and all the young players came with us, and we bought them around the shots on a tray. I said, right, you all have to drink these shots. And he went, what? Alcohol? And it was me, I think it was me, Gary Monk, and Mark Gower, and the Swansea. But we were probably coming to the end of our career, and we looked at each other going, yeah, he said, like, you know, tray of shots, you should be buzzing. We were buzzing when we were kids, and the first team lads would give us shots. And he went, listen, lads, like, no one drinks alcohol anymore. Like, we just don't. And we were like, the three of us looked at each other and went, game's gone, lads, isn't it? That's, you know what I mean? You know, and we were sitting down having a few drinks after it going, Jesus Christ, maybe we've got this wrong. We probably should have lived a bit. So the younger lads, I think, are a little bit much more educated and a little bit, they're switched on. For the ones that know what they want to do, they're ruthless and they do the right things. And look, I can turn around and go, yeah, but you're boring, you've got no crack. Yeah, and, yeah, but listen, he's got £50 million in his bank, and
yeah,
he's got a 12-pack for abs and all. You know what I mean? Fair play to him. You know what I mean?
Thomas, you had a question about the drinking culture as well, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So, no, Harry's Heroes was quite big recently on the TV, and the Arsenal players were known for going out and having a good drink and stuff. The teams that you played in, did you have any kind of drinking cultures, or was it, you know, a team spirit thing where you'd go out on a Saturday and have a few and then do something stupid? You got anything like that to tell us?
Yeah, look, it was the same. I grew up, I came into it where it was all the drinking culture. So Sunderland would have had a big one where you'd have Niall Quinn and you'd have Steve Bold, I think, was there as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, now don't get me wrong, it was strange then because, you know, they could go out 3 or 4 nights a week, and like Quinny could probably drink 15, 16 pints of Guinness. But the next morning, no hangover, nothing. He'd come in and train and be all right and do what he needs to do. But so we were kind of young lads and our first team pros moving up to that, and they could handle it because I think most teams, the fitness levels then as well would have been similar, if you know what I mean. So the other team they played would have 4 or 5 drinkers in the team. So they're all playing against each other. So there's no, you know what I mean? So what killed it was Arsene Wenger when he came in.
Yeah.
That's what killed it. I think all the teams then, Henry and all these people, Perez and all that, and you're thinking, hold on a minute, I can't be having 10 pints in a kebab at the end. It's just not going to work. But someone definitely would have had it. And again, Hartlepool would have had it. I think the Hartlepool that went there would have had more team spirit, as in the lads would work, like they were the fittest lads, that squad. Like they'd run, I think it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, in the afternoons, all they did was run. A really fit team. But then when it was, you know, time to go out, the whole squad would go out. And that was a really good group of lads. But there wouldn't have been 4 or 5 lads where you knew Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You could just smell drink on them, like, you know. So, and then Swansea was crazy. It was just like the party team when I went down to.
Well, you had the characters, didn't you?
Yeah, like Kenny Jackett was the manager, and I don't know how we slept that night. Like we used to we're all us out on the loose. He must have been, I don't think he must have got a wink of sleep because, I mean, a funny one down there at Swansea, there's a street called Wine Street. It's a bit like Magaluf, just one big long street full of bars. It's carnage. And Kenny Jackett called a meeting on the Monday and he said, lads, I've had complaints from Wine Street. He said a bar owner has complained that a Scouser has come up into his bar and threatened him behind the bar. And everyone looked at Robbo. It was like, you know, straight away, Andy Robinson. And we were all laughing. And Kenny was like, this is no laughing matter. And I said, well, what was the problem? And he said, well, look, someone said he was charging too much money for a bottle of peach schnapps. And again, we were all laughing at Robbo. And Robbo goes, yeah, Gaffer, well, hold on a minute. He goes, last week I went into the same bar and it was £16 a bottle. And this week when I went in, it was £20 a bottle. He goes, bang out of order, you can't one week have one price and the next week to turn up. And Kenny was going, Robbo, you shouldn't be out though. You shouldn't be out drinking. Oh, hold on a minute, Gaffer. You're missing the point.
Typical Scouser.
Yeah, he goes, he can't. And he said you were said loads of abusive words at him. No, Gaffer. All I said was, excuse me, you can't ask for £20 this week. And all of us went, fuck off. Robbo would have had him by the neck across the bar. You know what I mean? It was, like I said, what can Kenny do? The whole team's laughing, and he's just going, look at this lot I've got here to manage. I think he tried to get us to sign contracts, when you sign a contract, to ban you from going on Wine Street. And then Lee Trundle, who Simon knows well, I think, put his hand up and went, whoa, Gaffer, you can't do that. He goes, we need Wine Street, it keeps us happy. That's all we have. He walked away scratching his head going, I'm trying to get promoted with this lot, and this is all they care about,
So do you think with banning players from going out on the ale and drinking, do you think it's affected team spirit and the socialising within clubs now? Yeah,
I just, it's much harder now because there wasn't camera phones or Twitter or nothing really. I think Twitter was probably just starting around then, but it's just not worth it. I think a lot of managers, like any team I've been in that was successful, like especially Swansea, the team spirit was unbelievable. Like the whole group, like the crack and all the good personalities and everything was brilliant. That's why we've done well. And again, any team I've been at that was probably poor would have had cliques, would have had 3 or 4 that don't speak to them and they don't speak to the other ones, and it always ends in tears and everyone's fighting and backstabbing each other. So I've been in those teams, it doesn't work. To
be fair, Tom, that's what we're like during the week before the podcasts. And then Simon tells us off and we do it.
Although we haven't given Thomas any crap yet about the curtains behind him.
No.
The production value here is fantastic.
Yeah, I like that. Gucci.
Look, both Toms have got nice curtains behind them. So Tom, you were at Swansea and we've talked a bit about Lee Trundle. We'd like to call a friend of the show, although he hasn't been on yet. We're going to try and get him on after this one. But nice. You had a good couple of years with him, didn't you?
Yeah, look, brilliant lad. Like when I went down to Swansea, League One at the time. I mean, the 4 strikers down there was Lee Trundle, Leon Knight, Rory Fallon, and Big Akin Fenway. That's at Wickham. So the 4 of them lads, like for League One, that's sort of ridiculous strike force, unbelievable. So obviously, when I went down there and met Trons, he comes in with all his gear on and all the rest of it, But there was a perception of him before I went, because we were at Hartlepool, and when I played for Hartlepool, we played Swansea against Trons, and our whole team talk was, let's kick this shit out of this cocky Scouser. It was like, we thought, look, he likes all his tricks and all, and we automatically assumed, because he likes his tricks and flicks, he's going to be really arrogant and big time. But he wasn't. So when I went down to Swansea, I was thinking, he's going to be a knob. Like, he's going to be proper. He's going to blank me. He's going to be this, that, and all. Yeah. He was the first one to go, all right, my name's Lee. How's it going? And, here's all the rest of the lads and all the rest of it. So it's amazing, like, your perception on someone just from a bit of, watching, what you hear, what other people say, and then you go and meet him. But, brilliant lad. Like, he's probably one of the big reasons I think he had that team spirit, because all kind of probably centered around him, if you know what I mean. Just the crack he'd have with everyone, and outside of football as well, the stuff he did in the community.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
After matches and stuff like that, like I say, you're coming out of the ground, it's pissing rain, hailstones hitting off your head. All you want to do is get in your car. But you'll sign a few autographs on the way out. But Trons would go around everybody, and even if it was an hour and a half, he was great. And hospitals, schools every day in his spare time. I never really understood how much, as a player, sometimes, again, you're selfish. You're just thinking, me. I need to finish training. I need to go home and sleep. I need to just be away or whatever. But it's mad when you look back at what a difference it makes. Like for Trunds, just taking out 10 minutes to go and see sick kids in a hospital, or go into a school and have a chat with young boys or girls or whatever. It makes their day. Do you know what I mean? Like, but he's done a lot of stuff that you probably didn't see, but I think it's recognised now as
he's doing loads. He does it all the time, doesn't he? And as you say, social media's changed an awful lot, so you maybe get a bit more visibility. But we know he's been doing it for years. As I explained to you the other day, Tommy's we play football with a lad who's one of his best mates. So, you know, we met him and stuff like that. He's a really good lad. But Thomas has got an interesting story which we wanted to get him to share with you, because you'll love this.
Yeah, I played at a really low level in this. I'm not very good, but we were playing with this team on a Sunday in the business houses. I think it was the 2nd or 3rd division, and we were getting whacked every week. But anyway, we turned up at the ground, and Lee Trundle is in the opposition. And we're thinking, what's going on here? So a couple of our lads had knew him and knew that he's a cracker. Anyway, a local hard knock had got him to play for the team, or they were related. So Trundle's playing up front. We're winning 1-0. We're absolutely useless. And Trundle, threw this terrible tackling, caught one of our lads bad. Anyway, he gets sent off. So we're winning 1-0. Trundle's being sent off 10 minutes into the game. Next minute, the centre half, who's either related to Trundle or is his mate, this hard knock, runs up to the referee. Sort of grabs the referee and says, "Hey, ref, you've made a mistake. You only meant to give him a yellow then, didn't you?" The referee went, "Oh yeah, sorry about that. It was only supposed to be a yellow." Brought him back on. Trundle scored 8. We got beat 8-1.
No way.
Honestly.
No way. Yeah. What's Trunds doing tackling someone anyway?
I was going to say, you haven't seen that very often, have you?
I know, yeah.
I don't know. Listen, we were that bad, and we had some terrible. We had a couple of decent players, and he actually laid it on one of our better players. We were gutted.
Yeah. What a quality lad he is. He played around the amateur league, the top amateur leagues around Liverpool, and I think the standard, similar to the Northeast, at the top amateur level, you've got some quality footballers who've either not quite made it, or they've played and they like a bevy, so they're not in a pro team anymore. Yeah. And Trundle played for a couple of the top teams in Liverpool and was just head and shoulders above anyone. It was horrible to play against him as well, because you just couldn't get the ball off him.
He's strong as well, isn't he? Like, I mean, when I went down, I used to play left wing. Trunds would get a throw in on the opposite wing, chest it, and volley it first time out to the wing. And I'm thinking, this is League One. Like, some of the stuff he was doing, I'm thinking, because I knew my first touch would have been probably my best attribute. So I'm thinking, if I get the first touch, you know, if he switches it to me and I have that yard and I'm running at pace, it's hard work for the fullback then, because they have to read you or foul you, basically. So for the system we even played then, for Trunds just to be, and he'd shout at you, he'd shout at you 50 yards away. He's over on the other touchline. And he go, "Tommy, it's coming out. It's coming out." And I'm like, their fullbacks like giving me yards, thinking, no one's switching the ball. Go on, mate, I'll give you 10 yards. It's not coming out.
Yeah.
It is coming out. And I'm standing there on the touchline, left foot, ball like just off the deck, right out to you, like, and you know, and he just trots back into the middle there, you know. But I said it with him, it's another one. It's fitness, and Trunds now, if you speak to him, he'll say he probably looks after himself better now than he did footballer. He says he's right into his nutrition. I mean, he's playing now in Wales, I think, for the is it the amateur setup down there?
Yeah, scoring loads of goals as well, isn't he?
You know, so I mean, look, he's not going to run channels where he never did, but he said to me that Tommy, he said, like, why didn't I 10 years ago just say, you know what, let's give myself a couple of years where I look after myself and I treat myself better than it'd be interesting to see where I could have probably went.
But he had a chance to go to Everton, didn't he? Or there was talk of him going to Everton at one stage, and then it just didn't happen. And then he ends up going to Swansea. Yeah, but, I mean, he had a great couple of years, a great few years at Swansea, though.
Yeah, look, he is Mr. Swansea. Like, you know, he's part of that whole, you know, tradition there. They were almost relegated, I think, into Football League, and he needed a point to stay up in League Two at the end. So I think, you know, he went from them all the way up through the leagues, and he's seen all the managers and the growth and all that of how Swansea play now. Like, again, Swansea could never change the way they play. Like, the fans expect them to play a certain way. So any manager that comes in, they have to play similar style of football. Like, you couldn't go in there and start launching the ball. The fans would boo you now. You know what I mean? So,
who were the managers that you played under at Swansea?
Well, Kenny Jackett would have been the first one. Then Roberto Martinez. Then Paulo Sousa. Was it Paulo Sousa? Yeah, then Paulo Sousa, and then Brendan. Paulo Sousa was excellent as well. Like,
really?
He's won 2 Champions Leagues, and the worst thing about Paulo was he couldn't understand that he won the Champions League twice. He's played in the same team as Zidane, Roberto Baggio, all these legends.
Yeah, what a player.
At Juventus, and he was doing a corner one day, and it's quite funny actually. So he was doing a corner, and he was standing at the goalpost, and he had his hand like up in the air, and he said, "Tom, hit my hand with the ball like from the corner." And I'm thinking, I'm in League One. I think I hit 1 in 6 at best. Yeah. I was thinking, pay me more money, and I'll hit it every time.
He needed hands like Kenny Everett.
He was like, so anyway, first one I hit it, bang, he hits his hand, goes, good, because he just wanted the ball floated in so someone could flick it on, and then someone runs around the back post and heads it in. So anyway, hits a hand first time, goes, good, again, and I hit it miles over the hand, missed by a mile, and he went, Tom out, Joe in. What? I was like, because his English wasn't the best, obviously, and he's just like ruthless, just like, you out, Joe in. So I'm walking off with my head slumped down, gutted. And then it's Joe Allen it was, I think, and then he come in, and Joe Allen then put one in, I think, and hit it. And then he missed again. He went, Joe out, someone else in. And Joe was quite angry, like, he's a fiery little character. And he took his boot off and threw it down the pitch and like stormed off. And I was looking at him.
Joe.
Yeah, honestly, he was so angry. He's such an angry kid. I think he was only like, he would have been like 17 then, Joe, really, really young. But like, he just couldn't. He used to walk off the pitch and he'd be on his own for a while. And you knew he was thinking, why can't they just do what I can do easy? Yeah. You've won the Champions League twice. You play, he's been at the high level. I said, welcome to welcome to the Championship, or whatever it was when he was there.
So when you went to Swansea, where were they in their run?
Mid-table, probably League One. They just moved into the Liberty Stadium, the new stadium. So it was a big push for them. Like, when I went down to speak to the manager from Hartlepool, like it was at Hartlepool, I went down to Swansea, and they just, look, this is what we want to do. We want to go through all the leagues. Here's a new stadium. The players we have, they mentioned all the 4 strikers, and I knew who they were. And I was thinking for that league, I just thought, this is the place to be. You kind of felt, even with Kenny there, now Kenny would have been a similar manager to lots of ones I would have had. But, like I said, he probably wouldn't have suited me. But then, like I said, as soon as Roberto came in, for me as a winger, you didn't have to track back. I loved it. It was great. No tracking. Like, I remember it, I think, the first few games. So, if your full-back goes past, you have to go with him all the way. So, generally, old-fashioned British winger is you're up and down for 90 minutes and you're real honest and you follow your man everywhere. Roberto's, no. He says, as soon as you get to the halfway line and your fullback keeps going, you leave him. And I said, Gaffer, that's 2v1 though against our fullback. He went, so what? He said, let them defend. That's their job to defend. He said, I need you fresh up the pitch. So I'm standing. As soon as it gets to the halfway line, I'm putting the brakes on.
Is that the only time you ever listen to a manager?
The poor fullbacks, like, all over the place, you know what I mean? And he's thinking, Tommy, get back. And I said, I'm not allowed. But then our keeper then catch the ball, and then we'd be on the counter-attack straight away. And we absolutely... And the other teams then, he's cheating. And Roberto's going, what? No, it's just called using your brain.
Yeah.
They outnumbered 6, I think it was 6v4 against their back 4, so 6 against 4. But I trust my defence to deal with it because he worked with the defence Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on defensive phases of play. So them constantly being outnumbered Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So they're used to being outnumbered. So when it comes to the Saturday, they're not overphased, they can handle it. So Roberto had done all this before he did it. And then he just said, right, lad. But the only thing was, he said, look, if you don't score goals or create, you're coming off because I'm saving your energy. So he said, so it wasn't a total free ride. You had to do the business. Like. Well, that year when he was there, I think we had 15 penalties. So,
wow.
Because when we were receiving the ball, we were looking, we turn, and you're right next to the 18-yard box. Yeah. So you never have to run from 40 yards to get there into the 18-yard box. The ball would just get to you, and you knew 5-10 yards. I'm in the 18-yard box, and I'm going down. Any slight little touch, I'm hitting. Back then, you got penalties for nothing. It was great.
Yeah, there was no VAR.
Yeah, the slightest little touch, I'm diving head forward.
Typical winger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you're in League One, and then Swansea go on that run and get into the Prem. What was that like going through the divisions with them and the team spirit you must have had to make that happen?
You could tell it was going to happen because I think even in the cup runs when we played Premier League teams, like we played Fulham away. I remember that at Craven Cottage, and Roy was the manager then for Fulham, and I remember he came into our change room after the match. I think he just beat us. But we battered them. Like, they didn't touch the ball. We just kept it for fun. And we were just unlucky. We just didn't score. Schwarzer was in goal for them. Yeah. He just pulled off some worldly saves. And I remember Bobby Zamora came in as well. And brilliant. And Roy Hodgson come in. And the two of them come in at the end. And went, guys, can I just say something to you? Love the way he's play. Like, that is unbelievable. We're Swansea fans now. We're going to watch us all the time. We hope you go through the leagues, and if you keep playing like that, you will. And he was like, you battered us today. You should have won. But wow, like, that's a rude awakening for us. And that was a Prem team with them two coming in. I remember Roberto and Graham Jones were in the changing room, and you could tell, even though we lost, it was kind of like you're going out with a bit of pride. Like, yeah. And it takes good character from them two coming in.
Yeah, definitely.
Come in, but it gives you a boost to let you know you're going in the right direction. And you could tell then if you keep the nucleus of, like Leon Brittons and these type of players that make the team tick, if you keep them going forward, you knew like anything was possible, really,
Yeah, and it's different as well, playing football to get through the leagues as well. I think that's not normal, is it? So Darren is a Villa fan and has dealt with that yo-yo between the Championship and the Premier League for a while. And in fact, we were talking the other day, Daz, about the challenges that Villa have had. It's difficult playing football to get up through the leagues, isn't it?
It's really hard. Go on, Darren. Is that what you think with Villa?
Yeah, I think you'd almost go to the long ball game quite quick and be more direct because you want the results quickly. I think it takes a brave manager to play football and believe in what they're trying to do. I think if you've got more likely to succeed in the Premier League if you play football. And I think if you come up in your long ball game, the Premier Leagues, you'll end up near the bottom, and that's been proven. I just think for Villa at the moment, we haven't got the footballers to want to play football, and we're getting found out massively.
Yeah, and then you've got the issue of going from League One, where, as you said before, you described it yourself, it's very different. It's a different type of football. You play football to get out of League One into the Championship. And then you have to play football to get out of the Championship, which has got to be the most difficult league to get out of into the Prem. That's got to be difficult, especially when you don't have all the money as well.
Yeah, well, it was weird in a way because everything that I think that Roberto said, he was spot on about. Because now some things he'd say, and you're thinking, this bloke's too far out here. Like, he has to be bullshitting. There's no way what he's saying can happen. But the kind of intensity and the possession type, a lot of teams will play possession and do nothing with it, whereas he was always like high intensity possession, isolate 1v1s, lots of pressure going forward then, and then obviously then reacting to get it back. Like, it sounds basic, but I think in the Championship, we caught a lot of teams off because we knew even after 10 minutes, you go away to teams and, we're playing Swansea, we should smash them. And you'd know, especially away from home, I used to love playing away from home because you knew that team hasn't touched the ball in 40 minutes in their own stadium and their fans are getting on their back. And I knew even going in at half time then saying, we've got these. As soon as we score an early goal, they will absolutely crumble here. And it's just, because it's demoralising. We had a friendly against Barcelona B as Swansea. We went out to Barcelona and it was the most horrible game I've ever played in my life. I never touched the ball for 90 minutes. And this is Barcelona B. So it was kids, 17, 18-year-old at the maximum age. And we had a whole first team playing against them, and we were 3-0 down after 20 minutes. And I was literally, the ball was getting popped around so fast. It was demoralising because you couldn't even tackle them. You're trying to think, you know what, one of these young lads now is just getting it. Because you were just so well organised and so well drilled. Everyone knew exactly what the positions were. And it's all evidence-based, you know what I mean? Like, when a manager backs up or a coach backs it up with a bit of evidence to kind of say, you know, this is the way you're going to, and I'll prove it to you because next week this is probably going to happen, and it happens, and you're going, this bloke's the Messiah in a way. You're thinking, looking forward into the future, but he's basing it all on the training the week before because it's, in his eyes, the evidence. He's thinking, the last game we had 800 passes a game. We're playing Southampton this week. They average 250. Now, if we keep the ball for longer than them, which we will based on the stats, on that, we're going to get a few opportunities to score. They're never going to get the ball back. So there's a high likelihood, apart from the odd time you get done by a set piece, you're willing to get a corner and some big lump will just score, and there you go. But it was evidence based on all the possession to say, the longer we have the ball, they can score.
But Tom, isn't that what all the good sides do? All the good sides in every league you play, those basics they get right, and they move the ball quicker and more accurate, and they work harder than the team that haven't got the ball to keep it. And then, for me, I just think a manager's going to have a belief system, and if the players believe in what the manager's saying, then it comes together quite nicely. And we've seen that over the years with different managers in the Premier League and further down. That belief system of how they want to play. Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool now, you know, he had the belief system, and in 3 years, he's turned him into a good side, into an outstanding side. Pep, wherever he goes, same thing. It's that those managers believe in what they're doing.
Yeah, and you have to buy into it. So, like, you can't have a squad of players and you have 2 or 3 key players that this isn't for me. Like, like I say, at Swansea, like, even the reserves, some of the reserves, I remember Roberto, like, I think I'd just come back from injury, and the reserves were always in on a Sunday, or the lads that were subs that never played. And you always get the bitter ones. So if you're not in the squad, he's shit. Yeah. You don't know what he's talking about. So you're coming into that real negative Sunday morning, the most depressing day ever, because everyone pissed off they're not on the team, pissed off that they're just coming back from an injury. So I felt sorry for the coach on the Sunday, because you got a group of players that are just all in bad form, basically. But I remember Roberto was spying, came in on the Sunday, and he was spying on the session. And obviously the lads just totally just pissed the session off. You know what I mean? We're like not closing down or not working hard or whatever. And then Roberto just walked onto the pitch. I remember he called us in a circle, and he said, lads, do you have any idea how hard it was for you guys to be here now? And we were like, what's he on about? He goes, since you've been kids, he said, everybody telling you you're not good enough, you can't make it, you won't be able to get there. He said, look at all the obstacles that have been in your way since a kid to get to be a professional footballer, be most privileged position. And he said, and here you are now, he said, totally fucking a session off as professional footballers. He said, how would your family think that have relied on you and helped you out as kids, buying you boots and bringing you back and forth to training? And he goes, you represent them now. And he said, and here you are now, fucking a session off.
Yeah.
And I was nearly crying. I was like, oh, he's right. Like, no one's ever, like, basically, like, you cut your nose off to spite your face. And he said, look, you might not be in my plans. He said, but when you go to the next team, he said, you want to go in fit. You want to go in ready to go in and impress them. He said, you don't want to go in unfit and not sharp. He said, that's what you're doing in these sessions. He said, so it makes no sense. He said, when you're out on the pitch, you represent your family, your wife, your kids and all this. And I don't think any of the lads had ever probably had anyone break it down to them probably like that. I was just looking at him going, he's right, like, you know what I mean? I probably fucked off about 500 sessions over the course of, say, 6 years randomly, if you know what I mean. Instead of, I wish I had someone like him when I was 18, 19, get me by the neck and go, this is, you know, just think about what you're doing.
Yeah.
It was brilliant how we got that in. And then when he walked off, then the tempo of the session, bang, bang, bang. And then every Sunday after that, the lads were like right up front on the Sundays because they were like, you know what, I'm 27, 28. I'm going to move at the end of the summer. What Roberto's saying is right. You know, like, look at all the people that have sacrificed to get me here. Think about them. And I've never heard that before.
Well, it reminds me a lot, Tom, it reminds me a lot of one of Thomas's team talks before the game on a Saturday.
Very similar. I know. I'm normally crying when he makes them.
He's always talking about how we're representing our family in the vets on a Sunday.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, you two are my family. You better sort it out. Hey, Tom, why do you think he didn't make it at Everton? Why do you think it didn't go so well for him at Everton? Roberto?
I think for Roberto that he's like a purist. So it's his way of football and the way he plays. Like, you know, I would liken it to just me, for example. I would just assess the team I'm playing and try and stop the threats they have. Whereas Roberto probably forget about them. If we play the way I think you guys can play, you don't need to worry about them. And I think in the Premier League, when you're up against every team every week, that on any given day you can lose. Like, you know, you've seen the Premier League sometimes it just takes, you know, a striker to do something unbelievable and you're 1-0 down. And I just think with him, I don't think the squad of players, now I'd be pro Roberto in a way. I'm thinking if those players listened to everything that he's told them to do, I think he would have done a million times better. And I just think that he might have lost a couple of games, probably got hammered, you know, 4 or 5-0 and panicked. And some of the players thought, do you know what, fucking hell, let's just play what we think we should be doing. Let Roberto say what he's saying, but we'll just take control on the pitch and do our best. You know what I mean? Whereas just listen to him. Even if you lose a couple of games, it will come, because it happened when he took us over at Swansea. We drew the first 3 or 4 games and the fans were booing us. It was 0-0, 0-0, 1-1. And the fans were going, this is boring, this, keep the ball just for the sake of it. And he was like, no, look, trust me, the goals are coming. We're working on it in training and this, that and the other. But it's like anything in football, especially now. If you lose 4 or 5 games in the bounce as a manager, you're out, especially at that level. It doesn't matter. So, again, it takes bravery for Roberto to do it, but probably at his own cost, if you know what I mean. He could have went in and just went, do you know what, I'll change my philosophy. Some managers won't. Like, Pep would never change his philosophy. Never. Like, can you imagine him saying Bayern Munich or Liverpool, right, we'll nullify their threat? I just couldn't imagine him saying it. It'd just all be about what I think we can do. Forget Liverpool. Forget them. And that's probably why Liverpool, you keep struggling against them all the time, if you know what I mean. So
I'm made up he went there because I don't think he beat us. I don't think he ever beat us, Martinez.
Not under Martinez.
No, I don't think they did under Martinez. So he was a great signing for them.
So Tom, do you think he's the best? Sorry, Dan. Do you think he's the best manager that you've worked with, or do you think Rodgers is?
I think Martinez, from the footballing side of it, like from when I was probably, I'd say 26, 27, and I probably had 2 years of no real serious injuries for the first time in my career. I think he was perfect then for me, because he just ticked all the boxes that I wanted. I never played under Brendan, but I would have loved to have Brendan as a kid, as an 18 or 19-year-old, because Brendan, like I say, is all about the person as well. Do you know what I mean? The person first, then the player. And he's another. When I was injured, so I ruptured my rectus femoris muscle. and I was out. That's what I retired over. So I was out for 2 years with that, trying to get back.
You ruptured what?
Rectus femoris muscle.
Is that the one between your legs?
It's a dinosaur, I think, isn't it? It's a dinosaur.
Yeah, to the layman, it's like a thigh muscle up the top there on the hip. But the rectus femoris, I even laughed, to be fair, when the surgeon was going on about it. I was like, what's he on about?
Tom, can I ask you a quick question? So I think sometimes as a player, you get that connection with the manager, and it can really enhance your game, and it can, make your career longer if he stays, or if he moves on. He often takes people like you or other players with them. But the big question I want to ask you is, who do you support?
I don't actually have a team, to be fair.
No, we're not accepting that. Make a decision.
Right, Hartlepool. Here we
go.
When I was a kid, I used to just watch Italian football, like Gazzetta Football Italia. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I was
the team then?
Loved it.
Which team did you follow?
Milan.
AC Milan. I loved Boban and Savicevic up front. I used to love it. Brilliant.
I used to live in Milan when I was watching it.
Milan.
I'm a massive Maldini fan, so
yeah,
class.
We're a big fan, and obviously we've beat them in a very special final as well. So I mean, we don't talk about it much, Tom, on this podcast, but
every time, Tom, every time there's a chance to get Liverpool winning the European Cup in, those two always give it.
Yeah. All right, so Tom, you've done some work in sports science as well, and sports management. And we talked the other day about this kind of moneyball mentality and the process used to use statistics to drive who you buy and how you fill spaces in your team. Tell us a little bit about it. I was talking to Darren earlier. He's never watched Moneyball, so has no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no.
Give him an idea how it works.
Yeah, it's a lot of... I would say Brentford probably use it now more than anything else. It's just looking for value, really. I think a lot of it is... I think it's one of those things where it works in baseball, but there's question marks with it with football, like all the statistics, now everything. But football, because there's, baseball, say, for example, a pitcher or whatever, he's normally going to hit around the same ratio or percentage every year. Whereas you can't really say that for a striker or a centre-half, because a striker one year will score 30 goals. Next year, he might score 5 or 6. It's hard to do, but I think now, the way they're doing it now is you have the analyst departments at clubs. I'm sure Liverpool had one down at Melwood. And you just use that as a combination then. It's just to find every single little piece of information to make the right decision. And even then, it's hard at the end, kind of, because again, it's a human being. And that's the really hard bit to get right. And that's where the managers come in, mentality. You can get someone statistically who look a world beater, but they might be an asshole with people. You can put them in a group in the changing room, and they could destroy a team.
Yeah,
so
I tend to agree. So I think statistics are great to inform, but I think sometimes you've got to meet the person and to really get a feel for that person. And statistics will tell you what you need to know, but they won't actually help you sometimes.
Well, look at Pogba. You just mentioned it then. Pogba, if you looked at his statistics, you looked at his ability, he's unbelievable. Yeah. But he's a bit of an idiot, isn't he?
Yeah, but if Pogba wanted to be, he could be the best player in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what's frustrating about with Pogba is everyone says it, obviously he'll light it up at a World Cup and he'll do bits and bobs, but then he'll just chill out for a bit, or it doesn't look that, doesn't seem that bothered. Now again, it's like, all our criticisms, you say that and people go, yeah, but he's won the World Cup and this, that. The reason why Messi and Ronaldo then are the world greats is just consistency. They just do it all the time, don't they? But just getting back to the stats thing, I think, there is, I'd say Eastern European leagues, for example. So, if you're a League One team or a Championship team, it's all about probably finding your level. So you could probably find a level in Eastern Europe and, a Polish league, for example, and go, what, that's similar probably to League One, low Championship level. Players are probably cheaper there, if you know what I mean, at age 18, 19, 20. An English 18, 19, 20-year-old that plays 30 games might be, he's worth $500,000 now. Well, a Polish 18, 19-year-old that's played 50 games at a similar type of level of intensity, he might cost 20 grand. Do you know what I mean? So it's about saying, right, well, and then it's giving them to the coach. It's saying, look, if I get a 19-year-old centre half who's 6'4" and really quick, he doesn't really need to be that good on the ground. Like, you might look at a match and go, he's a bit of a donkey, his first touch isn't the best. But then another one will go, well, he's 19, he's 6'4", he's really quick. Now, if you get a coach then, and say you've got Brendan Rodgers to get hold of him for 6 months, there's the value then. You go, hold on a minute, now that fella that's worth 20 grand is worth 10 million because he's been coached by a top drawer coach that just needs to tweak him a little bit and find the weaknesses in him. But if he's not 6'4", if he's not quick, but he's brilliant on the ball, forget about it, because he's not going to fit into the English league, which is awful for a player. You can imagine being a 5'10" centre half and you're brilliant on the ground, and then your mate next to you who's a big lump who can't control the ball, he's signing for Liverpool.
Tom, I've suffered that all my life. Honestly, I've suffered it all my life.
Well, there was at Man City, they had that guy Savage, Savic, and he was absolutely useless at City because he didn't have a touch and he wasn't great on the floor. They sold him for pennies, and I think he ended up at Atletico Madrid. Yeah. Now, Simeone's coached him up for over the last couple of years, and now he's being touted for mega money to go to massive teams because defensively, he's absolutely outstanding. It's just horses for courses sometimes, isn't it? And he didn't suit City at the time, but he's gone somewhere else, and if he needs to put head on a ball, he's superb. Yeah. So I think sometimes it's just luck, isn't it? Yeah, well, it's like Virgil van Dijk. Virgil van Dijk come from Holland into the UK, and not one team would buy him for £2 million. £2 million.
Crazy.
2 million. Sunderland turned them down. Shock. 2 million. I think Neil Warnock was going on about as well. I can't remember where he was. He said he was offered him for 2 million because they said, "What's the biggest regret you've ever had?" And he said, "Someone offered me Virgil van Dijk for 2 million," and I said no. So again, so I think the stats and all the analysts coming into it will those mistakes will be less likely to happen because they'll say, well, look, the bloke is 6'4", he's 6'5", he's quick, his body fats are low, he's only 22, he's got high resale value. Yeah. If you walk with this bloke, and even if he's shit and it doesn't work out, he's only cost 2 million, we can take that hit. Do you know what I mean? So
I think sorry, Tom, I think you're right there. I think certainly lower teams don't want to waste their money, and they're almost like using the stats then to get value for money, knowing that they can take a hit on a certain amount, but then if it pays off and the coaching's good, they're going to get that back tenfold.
Exactly. Yeah, and it happens all. Like Swansea, for example, were brilliant at it. When I was there, they had Neil Taylor. They got from Wrexham for 300 grand. Yeah. I think it was the Aston Villa left back.
Left back, yeah.
So they had Ashley Williams, 400 grand from Oldham.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, if you think about it, I think Jason Scotland cost 50 grand from Dundee. Like, Leon Britton, I think, off from West Ham, cost nothing. I think he came on a free.
Yeah, he came free, yeah.
So, they had so many. Michu, I think. There was a Michu, and who else was the other one? So many players they've just gotten in from, even in Spain, Secunda B. Go Angel Rangel, led at QPR. Yeah. Cost Swansea 10 grand. There's non-league players where I'm from in Sunderland that are going places for 3 and 4 grand. And no disrespect to them, but look, Angel cost 10 grand from Secunda B, and he's had an unbelievable career, playing the Premier League and all. Yeah. So I think it's a lot of trust at football clubs. Like, again, clubs that don't work. If you look at Sunderland, the recruitment over the last probably 10 years, and they change managers every 6 months. So a manager will come in and go, here's all the players that I like to play this way. Then he gets sacked. Then a new manager comes in. He doesn't like that group of players. He wants different ones. They need to, and then it's just constant loss of revenue, money, and stability. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I think Swansea were very successful going all the way up, because the stability they had. The manager trusted the scouts to pick the right players for the way he wants to play. Like, so it would be, look, don't waste my time getting someone that can do a long throw in. Forget it. So we automatically just write off about so many players we don't even need to look at. So you pick out certain leagues that are similar to the way Swansea play, send your scouts to these games and try and find value in players that will do well in England and eventually either do well for us or we can sell them on and make a profit. Like it sounds easy, but it should be easier. That some clubs keep making the same mistakes every single year.
And Liverpool did it at the other scale, didn't they? So they had FSG come in. They had a lot of money. They signed Damien Comolli as a director of football. And then they come up with a plan of trying to use stats to improve the team and challenge for the title. And they bought, statistically, the best crosser of the ball, which was Stuart Downing. Then they went out and signed Andy Carroll for mega money, 35 million, hoping that them two were going to set the world on fire. They signed Henderson. Thank God they did, because he's going out to lift the Premiership trophy. But his first few years, he wasn't great coming into the side, and the statistics didn't work. And then obviously he got the sack, and then they went down the different route of Rodgers. But they did throw a lot of money at that using the statistics.
Yeah. It's like I'm saying. I think it works better for, say, if you're a League One team and you just thought, you know what, we just want to make money. We want to get young players in, give them a chance in League One, let them play 100 games, and then we'll sell them to the big boys, and we'll just turn a profit every year. I think that's where it'd be most, valuable. Now, a lot of people probably disagree, and I'm not like an analyst, as in someone will probably come on and go, what's he talking about? But it's just common sense, as in, if I was a League One team and I just, a chairman and a businessman, I would just say, right, get a few analysts in here now, get them scouring these leagues for these young players, coach them and sell them. So that there are a few teams that are doing it. Like Brentford, I'm not saying they do it completely, but they do all the, I think it's like remote scouting from so they don't even play games. So they'll have a room where they're just all sitting in watching game after game after game, and they're all around the leagues and just trying to find value.
I think successful. Tom, I think Southampton have done it quite successful over the years as well.
Definitely.
They brought players in through the youth system or through lower leagues in Europe, and then they've made them into better players and sold them on.
Yeah. Look, like Sunderland as well, to be fair. I've gone on probably about the first team recruitment. It's just, there's a big gap between, departments and stuff. But if you look at the Sunderland's Academy, so again, Jordan Henderson would have come through the Sunderland Academy. It would have made good money on him, and Jordan Pickford. So that alone, you think, what, should we not just pump a bit more money? Right, the team in League One, let's throw a few more million into the academy, get the best youngsters, compete. I know it's hard to compete with Man Cities and all them, but why not go up against them and say to young lads, sign for Sunderland League One, and you'll have a better chance of getting a pathway to the first team and men's football than going to Liverpool, where it's just probably 0.000% chance of getting into the first team. You'll end up getting released more than likely from Liverpool. You'll end up sliding down the leagues. You might not like it, and you might just quit football, like a high percentage do. Whereas I think a lot of players, it'd be interesting to see them come in the opposite way.
Yeah.
Start in the League Two, League One team as a top young player, knowing that there's only a squad of League Two or League One team will only have a squad of 16, 18 players, a couple of injuries, and you're in. You're playing. And then you're playing men's football. Then the Liverpools and the Man Cities come and watch you playing against men's teams, and then you get bought for a few million, and then you go the different route.
Isn't that that's the way it used to work, isn't it? You used to have that route was the much more obvious route. Yeah. Nowadays, it's not like that. They're getting them really early on into the academies, and then they're just keeping hold of them, and then dropping a load off at 16, a load off at 18, and then when you get if you look at people who were in the academy versus players that are actually playing in the top divisions, it's a very, very small percentage.
Yeah, I feel sorry, like I said, on the academy players now. I think it was easier when I was starting, because you always felt you had a chance, especially when the managers used to come to games. Like the first team manager would always probably come to a reserve game or even a youth team game if it was up at the training ground. You'd always watch it. But, the gap is just massive now. It's getting bigger and bigger. I mean, I even liken it to our youth team. Sunderland would play the local teams here, the amateur teams, which have decent players in them as well. But we beat them, say, 7-8-9-0, our youth team. Whereas if you look at I look at it now, and the amateur teams now they're beating the youth teams now in the pre-season games. So something's not right. Because I've said, look, and again, no disrespect to the amateur players, but if you're a professional player and you're training twice a day, you should be beating. Those lads are going out and working, doing a full shift, and then going and playing a match against young lads. Right? You should be battering these teams. You shouldn't be touching the ball. So definitely. I've noticed either the amateur teams are getting better or they're getting fitter, and all that's kind of changing, or something's not right there. Because I've often said, if we played an amateur team, say a local team, and say we beat them 7-2, we're getting we'd be running all week because we conceded 2 goals.
Yeah.
So it's
tough, but I think we talked a lot about the academy system and how the coaching is maybe not where it needs to be. But I tell you what, I really like about Sunderland, their setup is amazing. That academy it just looks unbelievable.
Yeah, it's one of the best in the country. It's state of the art. I think the only thing I would say about it was, I think when the old place used to be called the Charlie Murray Centre, and it was really compact. It was, again, 3 pitches, a couple of porter cabins, and it was a bit more intimate. So all the youth team and reserves and first team, you were always kind of mixed up together. So again, good team spirit and good crack between all the groups. And I think when we moved to that place, again, only someone like a footballer would moan about going to a new, beautiful facility. It's typical. But when we went there, it was so grand. It's massive, huge. It must have 20 pitches. It has a hydro pool, jacuzzi, steam room. It's state of the art, big gyms. But everyone was separated when they went to that place. The first team had their own wing. The youth team were miles away from the first team, so you're instantly then losing that contact between the group. And I started noticing a little bit, the atmosphere started going down, because it's just. But again, people will go, "You little shit! You've just moved you into a £10 million stadium."
Never happy. He's never happy, this fella.
And I want to go back to the prefabs that were nearly falling down, So
yeah. So Tom, you've had a really good career. We'd call it an illustrious career, but to be honest, mate, we're just failed amateur footballers, so I don't know whether I'd take that as any kind of yardstick. But what has been your greatest football memory? And there's some crackers in here, but what's the thing that really stands out? When someone says, tell me something about when you played footy, what's the thing you talk about?
I think probably when you're a kid, when I was a kid, I used to watch matches a day all the time and watch Ireland playing and stuff, So I think for me, it was always, I want to play in the Premier League, So I used to turn around to my mum and dad and say, I want to play in the Premier League, and they just bust out laughing. And I'd say, yeah, good one, and all the rest of it. But I think it was a Premier League debut, I think, at the Stadium of Light, when I was against Derby County, and I just thought, when I was in the tunnel and going out and 46,000 people, and I was thinking, wow, this is it. And the noise was unbelievable then, the atmosphere. And I think as well, we had to at least get a draw to stay up. And I got man of the match that day. I was unplotted. To be fair, Warren Barton was right back. I was left wing. So I was thinking, if there's ever going to be a day to get a debut in a fullback, I was thinking, I fancy the chances there. But I done really well, and I got man of the match, and you get the big champagne and all that. So it's kind of as a kid watching something on the telly, and then you're thinking, what's the chances of me coming from where I came from in Dublin, working class area? You had everything kind of against you to, you're out on the biggest stage, and you're getting your champagne at the end, and that's probably the best. I'd probably pick that one out, probably is the best one, really.
Did you get interviewed afterwards?
Yeah, I think I did. But
did you start crying and say, "We did it, ma'am"?
I wasn't close. I was just staring at the camera going.
Did you shit yourself?
Yeah.
Making your debut? Did you?
Yeah. I couldn't sleep the night before, because I knew I was starting, so I was just thinking, fucking hell, don't give the ball away straight away, and it's weird actually. After probably 15, 20 minutes playing, you don't hear the crowd or nothing. You don't really hear much. It's only events like a shot or a foul or something, and you hear a big roar, and you think, fucking hell, Jesus. When I played at Hartlepool, it was only like 3,500 at games there, but you could hear every word.
Yeah.
Every word, yeah.
Tom?
You got sick down there.
When we play, we have a dog barking if it doesn't go well.
Chasing the ball on the pitch.
Chasing the ball afterwards.
Yeah, we had that at Swansea, you know, when I first went down there. Kenny Jack, we were doing the trainings because we didn't have our own training ground, so we used to just train on the field. And this person come across with a dog, like this man was walking his dog, walked right across the pitch in the middle of a session. Kenny had the cones out and all this. And you can imagine Robbo and Truns, he's like, "Hey mate, get off the fucking grass." And then Kenny was like, No, Robbo, it's public land, they're allowed to walk. And you were all just all standing waiting for this fella to walk across with his dog.
Yeah. We all think about professional football and we're thinking about all these amazing locations and that kind of stuff's happens. It happens to us as well. So, so the other thing is, who's the best player you've played against? Not with, against.
Yeah. God, I'm just trying to think. I played against a lot of like players where I've been absolutely blown out my arse chasing, but.
So I've seen an image of you chasing Gerrard.
No, he was chasing me that day.
You wish.
I think he absolutely smashed me then. But I think Henry, but we played Arsenal hybrid. Henry was. Now, obviously, I wasn't near him on the pitch, thank God. But I was rooming with Gary Brain. He was up against. I remember rooming with him the night before, and I was looking at him going, "What's wrong with you, Brainy? Like, you look a bit, worried and that." He goes, "Fucking Henry tomorrow." Like, he's like saying, he said, like, every time I try and kick him, he just evades me challenge. Like, when I try and smash him, he just skips past me. He says, if I give him 5 yards, he turns and he just smokes me like for pace. Like, honestly, I've tried to elbow him. He just holds me off with his arm. I can't even get into elbow him. He just said, I just don't want to play against him tomorrow. that was the one where we, I came on at half time actually. You're losing 3-0. I done well. And I think that was when I asked Freddie Youngberg for his jersey.
Oh, nice.
Match, and really went fucking mad. Like, so I asked Freddie to come off the pitch. I said, Freddie, because he was my favourite player for Arsenal at the time. I said, Freddie, can I have your jersey? And he goes, yeah, sure, no problem. You remember those Dreamcast jerseys, the Arsenal ones?
Yeah.
So Reedy was going around the changing room, wasn't he, afterwards going, you're shite, everyone, you're shite, and everyone had their heads down. So it was coming around, and he goes, he was the only one, he pointed at me, that came on at half time, had no fear, and had a go. He go, right, you're exempt from this, but everybody else, fucking shite, you're at this game. Lost the plot. And Freddie Youngberg, in the middle of Reedy talking, opens the changing room door.
No.
Son, Thomas, yeah, here's your jersey. Threw the jersey at him. Oh. His face, I swear, do you want to see it? It was steam coming out of him, like, he turns around. And after him giving me blown, like, little report, and he was like, see you. He says, see any C word. Can you say the C word on this? Or not?
No,
yeah,
don't say the C word.
Say what you want.
Well, the C word, anyway, he goes, if the next C, whatever it is, that gets a player's jersey, he says, I'm going to have them. I mean it. He says, you're off the team. He goes, we're going to get hammered 3-0. And he goes, I'll excuse you once, just because you've done all right, but you do this again, yeah, that's it. And I was nearly crying. I was thinking, I've only just got in the team. I want to impress. And Niall Quinn was sitting next to me. He was going, Tommy, you fucking idiot. So, he put his arm around me, got me the headlock. But, I was just thinking, again, you look back, you think, you muppet, you could have. And then obviously on the bus on the way home, they were just slaughtering me all the way back. But
you deserve to get held for that, mate. All right, so what about the best player you've played with?
I think I'll go for Swansea because Leon Britton, I would say.
Yeah, quality footballer. Them
players I played with, but Britt's probably. I don't think he ever had a bad day. And I think underrated as well. Like what he did for Swansea, like that position in front of the back four, just mopping up messes, and he'd never give possession away. He'd always. You know what? One of those players, and probably a thing that all the top players probably have is they don't make mistakes very rarely. Brits never really make a mistake, and I think and even if you're having a bit of a fucking hell, I'll just give the ball away a couple of times in a row, or even a bit of a dodgy pass into Brits, he'd make it a good pass and make you look better. So he used to dig you out of shit a lot. And I just think Brits could have probably, but only in that system. Any team that played that system, Brits wouldn't have looked out of place at all.
But he played for years as well, didn't he? Did really well. Did a really good job for years for them.
Yeah, and again, talk about players and all, highly coachable, like adaptable. Like a manager will just say from Brits, you're playing this position this week, all right. I think he played left back or right back once or twice, just fit in there and do that. So, anything that was asked of him, he could do it. Really nice lad as well. Good around the group, good with people. But like technically, like I say, he just zing a ball in at any pace of ball, just stop dead in his toe. And, he made a show of a lot of players. Like players probably that would have earned 5-6 times what he would have earned. Probably for years and years, you just go to games and go, wow, this is some player, this fella. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, I've got to be honest, mate, you're going to get held by Trundle because I'm going to send him this as a link. And I'm just going to cut this little bit out just with that question. And then you're going to get a load of crap off him.
Yeah, he will. He'll text me and go, come on, lad, I'm not going to let you show me some of his goals. Look, Trunds as well in his own right. I mean, he could do anything on a pitch. So there's so many good players. But Brits, probably for going through the leagues from all the way from League 2, like being easily the best player League 2, League 1, Championship, and then, right, hold on a minute, can you go in the Premier League and be a top player? And he was a top player in the Premier League, in my opinion. And I only wish that, he played probably in the Premier League from age 22 onwards. Like, again, if he got a Roberto or a manager then at 22 and had him at 21 or 20, he probably would have played longer on a higher level for longer. Yeah. Probably done the gauge, you know what I mean?
Great player. All right, so last question for you, and this is probably a big one as well. So you've had, as I said before, a great career. If you got to do it all again, what would you do different?
I'd probably live better. Like as in, I would have definitely known what I know now. I would have made better. Like I just would have sacrificed a lot more. Like I think I'd say about 60% of the injuries were self-inflicted from just poor lifestyle. So, I would say just being lazy, like just saying, oh, you know what, I'll get a pizza instead of learning how to cook, or, sleeping, or even doing more in the gym, stretching. Like, my hamstrings they're a problem area, my hamstrings. Well, why don't you do yoga? Don't stretch. Like Brian Deeds, 40-year-old, no hamstring tears. I'm thinking, like if we go back in time, I think a lot of things would have been definitely lifestyle is probably one of the biggest things for me, but definitely even for any footballer now. If you're not serious about your lifestyle, it's not for you, because the levels of fitness now involved at the highest level. Even now, the lower levels now, even League 1, League 2, you don't see many players overweight or playing. They're all machines. But again, a bit like you were saying there about the quality of football sometimes isn't great, and I'd like that to get a bit better. But the modern game now, if you're not fit and you're not dedicated about your lifestyle, you're gonna really struggle.
You're an athlete like me, Tom.
Exactly. Get that six-pack out.
Yeah. Don't get your six-pack out, for God's sake.
Get the Sol. It's Sol, I think, his six-pack, isn't it? Or Budweiser.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think, and you work with young footballers now, or you talk to young footballers now, don't you, Tom, about things to do?
I love, getting to a player, and again, I can see all the mistakes they've made. They've made everything they're kind of making, as in I've made them. Whether it's anything like, I remember buying my first car, and didn't have a clue about APR and interest and all this. I walked onto the forecourts as a car dealer, licking his lips, going, look at this. I'm going to absolutely stitch him up a treat, So I wouldn't have a clue. Do you know what I mean? Just walk in, yeah, and then you're in the shit paying off something shouldn't be, So a lot of kids, I think now is just getting to them on the football side of stuff as well. It's just kind of saying, look, a lot of them, the manager's an asshole, he doesn't like me. Well, hold on a minute, did you give yourself a chance? How did you prepare? What were you like? you know, and some of them don't like it. They don't like hearing it. I wouldn't have liked it as 21 to be told,
no,
you know, like almost be robotic as in, look, get a good structure to your day, get up early, stretch, do more than the other fellas do, basically. But it's good to help them, and when they get it, it's great to see them. And then the best thing is if they give you a call and say, you know what, wow, everything you've said has happened. Nice one. You're almost thinking, you know what, I've probably saved that bloke a couple of years of pain by just telling them the right things. Whereas we were probably saying earlier, Simon, about a lot of players are probably too proud to ask. They always feel like, I don't want to ask, you know, I'll look weak asking a question, where the quicker they get that information, and it's not even about succeeding as a footballer. I always say to them, look, football might not be for you, it might not work out, and if it doesn't, who cares? It's you can be anything you want. You can go and study, you might be a brilliant coach, you know, you can go off and you can do anything you want. It's not the end, you know, and I don't think they hear that enough. They probably just think, you know, I've seen lads getting released, you know, when I was a kid at Sunderland, coming out of the office in tears, bawling their eyes out, going, what am I going to do? Like, I'm finished. And you're going, you're 17, you can do anything you want. Yeah. But they don't have anyone telling them that, you know, it's great.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think clubs need to do more as well. And I also think players from the age of 12 are in a bubble, and the real world is something what other people do. And what you've just described is giving them a real insight into the professional game and the lifestyle that they need to choose.
Yeah, definitely. And it helps, like I say, I might have had one or two players give me similar bits of advice. I might have had it, but I don't think I had much, if you know what I mean. It was you make a mistake, you learn, you make a mistake and learn, and everyone has to do it. But I often think that it's such an unforgivable 10, 12-year period for players where, you know, if they do make a few mistakes, like, that's it, like, you're out, or you're that bloke that done X, Y, Z, or then you just can't play football anymore, you know. So the quicker I think people that are any sort of experience, probably not even in football, but just good mentors generally, can get to groups of players or single players and just say, look, you're spending an hour with a life coach once a week, just to, whatever problems you have or you don't think about, this person has walked in your shoes, you should listen. You don't have to listen, but you should listen. And that same player, you would hope 10 years down the line, you see him goes, you know what, mate, 10 years ago, I thought you were some little fat, weird dude, but now you were spot on what you were saying, and that's what you want, you know, like.
Yeah, I do a mentoring with one of my friends' sons, and a similar thing, and the impact you can have is astounding. You don't realise it until they've gone through it.
Yeah, and it's luck as well. Like I think you were saying earlier on, it's luck about just getting the right person at the right time. I think Joe Allen was at Swansea, and he got Brendan Rodgers came in, and Joe was 18 or 19. Brilliant to get. I was thinking, Joe, I said, listen to every single word this bloke says. I said, you'll learn more with him in 6 months than anyone else in years. I said, just listen to him. And I'm not saying he was the whole reason why Joe kicked on and had a good career, but definitely would have, you know what I mean? Any little imperfections, right? Let's sit down, so let's have a chat. Whereas some managers don't have time. I've been at clubs where it's, right, if he's got problems, I don't have time to sit down and go through this shit with him. You're out, which is, it's how ruthless. It's a side of football they don't show on telly, they don't see it. You know, they don't see you only see someone in a Ferrari and whatever it is. Brilliant. But they should show stuff in League 2, League 1 and show like the dynamic, you know what I mean, of what they actually go through, if you know what I mean. So, but again, there's no sympathy, is it?
Yeah,
so,
yeah, exactly. When you're a fan, mate, and you know, you've done things that we've only dreamed of. You've played at the top level. We've wanted to do that all our lives. We go and kick a ball around on a Saturday afternoon and pretend we know what we're doing. Well, me and Daz do. Yeah. Thomas just moans at us from the line.
And also, we pay a £5 to get Thomas to moan at us.
And it's unreal.
A
£5 subs.
Yeah.
And it's my dad that collects it because he's the treasurer. So I can't get away with it either. All right, Tom, listen, you've been fantastic. Thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it. You know, you've had a great career, great to talk to you. we'd love to get you on again in the future. We'll get Trundle on to give you some crap as well.
Yeah,
tell us the real
definitely.
stories.
Definitely get Trunds on. I'll tell you what, it'd be box office stuff. Honestly, God. Actually, it'll probably be what's it called? What do they call it now? No platformed. Is it something? I think if you get him on, I think every second word will be beep.
Yeah. Brilliant.
But no, cheers, lads. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time, and I'd love to come on sometime again in the future.
All right, thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Much, Tom.
Right, so what an interview that was. What a nice fella, and just he could talk all day. I mean, we planned that for an hour. I think we're like an hour and 50 minutes in.
Yeah, I know. I thought I could talk, but wow.
Adam, you can talk.
What a great fella. Some of the stories he's got as well is fantastic. You know, done something that we'd all dreamed of doing. Played for some amazing managers as well. Great career.
Yeah, I thought he was excellent. He spoke very well, and he had some great stories about actually the insight into the game and into that level. It's not just about turning up and playing football. There's much more to that.
Yeah, I loved his thoughts. I loved his thoughts on what he'd say to younger players as well. You can probably use some of that on a Saturday, Thomas.
No, I'm very insightful. I'm ahead of the game, as you know, and it'll just be putting me back a couple of years.
So apparently you're revolutionising football because they're talking about Edison playing as an outfield player now instead of a goalie.
Glenn Hoddle did just mention that on BT.
Yeah,
just going to put it out there.
Yeah, and we know he does pick up the podcast. So thanks, Glenn.
Yeah, I don't know whether I would be going with Glenn Hoddle as your partner, though, Thomas. He's got history for saying some odd things.
Yeah, so have I.
So anyway, thanks to Tom for coming on. He was fantastic. Thank you to Graydon Downs, who's a mate of mine, who introduced me to Tom and helped us get him on the podcast. That's our first big interview with someone who's played at the top level. Hopefully it's one of many, but great insight from him. We'll try and get more of that to the listeners. It's something that we really want to do. It's not easy getting, ex-professionals or pros on the podcast, but he did us a big favour there and came on. We really appreciate it. All right, Daz, give us your final thoughts before we wrap up.
Yeah, I thought Tom was outstanding. As I said before, he spoke well. He just gives you an insight into the highs and the lows of the football game, really. And a lot of people see the end product and just look at like the cars, the money, but actually there's a mental aspect to it as well, and there's always a down to it. But he spoke brilliantly, and some of the stories he had were superb.
Yeah, Thomas.
Yeah, I'd like to thank him also. He was superb. Spoke very, very well. One thing that did stick out for me was young players. If you want to make it and you've got a chance of making it, his advice was work harder than your competition. If you work harder than the rest, you've got a better chance than them, and that's something that I'd stick with.
Yeah, and it applies to everything. You're only in whatever your chosen profession is. And he also talked about this. Football isn't everything for these lads. Some of the lads finish football at 17. They're absolutely devastated, never play football ever again. But they've got to have something else. They've got to realise that football isn't the end. And if you don't make it, you're one of thousands, tens of thousands of kids that are good at football that don't quite make it to the professional levels. But he spoke very well about that.
Yeah, and also, Si, I think what he did do is he said there's other avenues in the game, not just playing. He spoke about coaching and other, the sports science in the game is huge. So there are lots of different avenues now. And I think people growing up need to know that, it's not just actually the game anymore. It's much bigger than that.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all played with players who we think should have made it and had opportunities. Doesn't always work out for everyone. Doesn't mean you're not a great player. Doesn't mean you can't go on and play football all your life like we have, Daz. Well, almost all of our life. I mean, I'm planning on playing for another 10 years, so I don't know about you.
Probably 10 minutes, I'd probably last.
But yeah, really enjoyed the interview. As I say, we'll try and get more of them on because it's really good to give the people who are listening to the podcast a bit of an insight on what it's like being a pro. The kind of sacrifices that you'd have to make it work, and Tom gave us a really good view on that.
Just on that side, if anyone knows anyone, any ex-pros or anything, wants to get on the podcast, give their thoughts about the game, the modern game, their career, that would be great. Yeah,
definitely. All right, thanks, lads. Really appreciate that. Everyone who's listening, don't forget to visit the website at www.threemeninthefootball.com. Download the podcast on all the favourite podcast apps, or also watch us on YouTube. And I think in this case, watching Tom on YouTube is a lot of fun. He was great, and can't wait to do the next one. See you on the next one, lads.
See you, boys.